Hey everybody, I wanted to come back to talk about the significance of this day. Because 50 years ago today, as I told you earlier in our headlines, the Prince of Peace, his life was taken at the young age of 39, Martin Luther King. And as I was sitting there kind of wrapping things up, and with the cloudy skies and the wind kind of whipping around and knocking on the door, I started thinking about being in a classroom somewhere many years ago in the New Brighton School District. I think those of you who know me, and especially those of you who taught me, I was, folks, what you would call your basic C student. And if I got a C, I was pretty happy about that. Because I was always one to dream about the life that maybe I would have outside those walls and where it would take me. And it was just such a glorious thing, my mind, because the mind really can take you many places. But there were certain subjects that made me always plug in, and the great teachers in the public school system that helped me really mold myself and who I've become. I think a pretty successful broadcaster. History was one of those classes, and I've had many great history teachers along the way, but there was none better than Dave Bush. And Mr. Bush, who is no longer with us, still has a lasting effect on me years later. And I'm sure somewhere there is a student right now, like me, engaged in history and learning about the significance of Martin Luther King. He was a man from humble beginnings, but he became a giant and a legend to many. Yes, because of his great ability to preach the gospel, but also to preach his message of peace and non-violence. He was a civil rights activist in a time that, yes, being black in this country was not good. It was a challenge each and every day that your eyes open, just getting through another day. And I knew back then in the, late 60s, early 70s, when I began hearing these incredible stories of this man who became larger than life to me, that maybe I could never achieve those heights. But if I had the opportunity, I would always make sure that people understood that we are all God's children. And yes, we all have that same color of blood running through our veins. So wherever you are today and you're watching this, if you have the ability to teach someone about the legacy of Martin Luther King, just like those great public educators did for me many years ago, and I still remember and I'm grateful for today, I highly recommend that you take time to tell them. In this gymnasium of mine, I have little mementos that have to do with my children. My son Tyler, who has done a little MMA, mixed martial arts in his life. When I look at my gloves and I see Everlast, I think of him. And I love him dearly. My oldest son, who has done so well, he and his lovely wife Sarah. And my son Robbie, folks, to be honest, this happens to be his. He's 6'5" now, and he's a student at Penn State Beaver, doing incredibly well, working at that wonderful place and also being educated there. And my beautiful daughter, her pictures along with my others are, folks, just right over there that I look at first thing in the morning and the last thing before I go to bed at night. She is studying right now at Quigley Catholic in Baden, Pennsylvania. And I know this, I could have a conversation with each and every one of them about Martin Luther King right now in 2018, and they'd be able to teach me something. So to all of the people that taught them, and of course Robbie and Eva's mother is an incredible public school teacher in Hopewell, and I just admire her talent every day. You're never too old to learn. But just remember that great lesson in life that Martin Luther King taught for many years, and even though he has been gone for 50 years, it is still true today. Nonviolence, peace, and we are all created equal. So let's try to make it an even playing field and get to that common ground and help each other. Because I know that's the way he would want it to be. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen, from your Pratte Pack. Good afternoon.